me see something. Try it, see. All right, so your Bridge Lab report. Like always, there's multiple pages. It's like the worst drawing of pages ever. The bottom page are your logs. Okay, so that should be dated accordingly. All the stuff that you talked about, the construction process, problems you faced, how you dealt with those things, that should all be there. This is not typed. This must be the original that you've been writing on. If you haven't been keeping logs, that'd be obvious, and you're going to lose points. So this here should be screen caps. Okay, that's irritating. All right, and by screen caps, I mean pictures from the video that I put online. Okay, and from this, whoops. To analyze the loads, okay? I want you to look at those pictures, and from those pictures be able to say where your bridge failed and why. Right? Our bridge failed because of this reason, and then you can prove it there. The page you're going to use to do that. Okay? And if your abstract basically was about constructing a pasta. I guess I don't even know how much mass that car is. I think it's only like maybe 50 grams or something like that. Then you're not going to really have a quantitative analysis. You know what? That's where you'll put your risk. And then for the qualitative analysis, this is where I want you to talk about kind of like what went wrong and how you'd improve it. Okay, that's this. Then the other part, so that's just the report. This shouldn't actually take you that much time. I hope not. Maybe an hour and a half at the most. Now, the second part of this is your presentation. Okay, now your presentation, what you're is try and use this bridge experiment as evidence that your group should be the company that is chosen to build a bridge. Okay? Now, just because one company had the highest load doesn't mean that company will get right? Because it does depend on your presentation. And what you can do is say, you can talk about how you're loading for your design, because we learned these things and those things we're going to use in the final design, or we're going to adjust the design, etc. So when you do your presentation, each of you, are there 3 in the group or 4? 3, right? Okay, each person must have their own role. Okay, one kind of sort of like the history of bridges. Okay, then the other one must be sort of talking about the loading of bridges, kind of like the mechanics, right? And then the last person must be talking about your bridge. So on your bridge, you have to talk about the design that you used and how you would improve it. Like, what did this engineering run do? Because in this is what engineers do, right? You have a problem that needs to be solved. The problem is people need to get from one side of the river to the other side of the river. And you have certain stipulations about what you can do. You know, because of some environmentally protected fish in this river, you can't put a river. You can't have a pylon or anything. So you have to span the river, right? You see, create the criteria that determine how you engineer the project. And that's what you did. I gave you criteria. I told you the materials. Basically, I set the cost for the project, and then you built it. Okay? So for this, really more than scientists, you guys were engineers. And now you have to take what you learned as engineers and figure out your final new design better, and then sell us on that. Okay? So each person's responsible for this. Within each of these things, you are responsible for your actual and you are responsible for your PowerPoint. I'm going to hold each of you. I need to know specifically what you were responsible. Okay? So when you're going to do your presentation, your group is going to give me a printout of your PowerPoint. Do you know what I'm talking about? You can print it. Don't give me like 30 pages. I want like 2 pages with like 15 things. And so it shows me each slide, and I want under the slide in the notes, I want what you are going to say. Okay, let me make this clear here. So what do I want? What is to be turned in? Gosh, what do they call that? Thumbnail sheet? Wow, this is just going nuts. So I want a thumbnail sheet of your PowerPoint. I want the notes that you're going to talk about for every slide. I want a name for each slide, who is responsible for it. And then each person will be graded on how well they made their PowerPoint itself and how well you did your presentation. Questions? Yeah.
You said you want what we're going to say on each slide, or
Yeah.
do you want what's written in each slide?
Well, so I'll see that. But I want and you don't have to literally say everything that's in the notes. So I don't want a script, just kind of like the bullet points of what you're going to say. Does that kind of make sense?
Right under
Yeah.
the slide?
Yeah. In case you've never seen what I'm talking about, if you have a PowerPoint like this, you can print the slide like this, and then there's a little box under here with lines like that.
Can you just type in it?
Yeah, and those are the notes. Now, you can type in those notes. Okay, let's see. Okay. Use this as an see, when you go like this, if you, in this mode, if you hit and can now type stuff, and then you can put notes in there. And you can set it so that you can put the notes right underneath each of the slides.
Where is it down there?
Yeah.
Where it says- Can you show us how you print it, like how you said it? Because I'm not sure how you print it. Oh,
So all you do is when you go to print, oh, I think that's just gonna print. That's really annoying, I hope it doesn't do that. When you go to print, you can, like this, handouts. Okay, and then you can, I don't know, print it out grayscale. Don't waste ink, color ink, that's too expensive. And then you can put the notes underneath. Questions about this? Yeah.
For the last one, where you talk about your design and everything, do you have to put pictures of your bridge?
That would be a good idea. Right? I mean, I'll specifics of PowerPoint in general in a minute. Okay, any questions about what I'm looking for on this thing that you're turning in? Okay. Now, in general, things about PowerPoint, all right? Make sure that you keep a consistent theme. That theme should include color and layout. Man, this is hard to write. So you should keep those things. Color, font, and layout should be consistent throughout the PowerPoint. Don't switch every slide. Animations are not necessary unless you're trying to animate something to prove a point. Basically, any choice that you make in a PowerPoint should be specifically made to communicate something. So if you have something wiggle, that's because you specifically wanted somebody to know that particular thing very, very clearly. Right? Ever add anything to a PowerPoint for funsies? Right? Like, oh, I think this looks cute. No, don't do that. Right? The PowerPoint should be straightforward. Like, the PowerPoint should not sort of draw people's attention away from you. It add people's attention to what you're saying. Do you get the difference? Right? Because if you're trying to talk and your PowerPoint has like some big animated thing, no one's going to pay attention to you. Or they're going to listen to you and they're not going to pay attention to your PowerPoint. Okay, so in terms of the PowerPoint, make sure it has a clear theme in both these aspects, color, font, and layout. Now, in terms of your presentation. Okay, the worst thing in the world is to read to someone what is on your PowerPoint. That is insulting at, no, actually it's boring at best and it's insulting at worst. Because you're either you have nothing to say about your presentation, therefore you're just reading it, or you assume that I'm stupid and cannot read the English language and are reading it for me. You see what I'm saying there? So don't do that ever. That's horrible. All right. What you're going to want to do is have your presentation, like the PowerPoint with the notes on the bottom, have that so that you know, oh, this slide, I'm going to talk about these things. And then the slide works with you to communicate those things. Like, let's say you're going to talk about 3 types of bridges. There are 3 types of bridges. Bling, the slide shows the 3 types of bridges, right? And talk about them so that people can see what you are talking about. You get what I'm saying there? Don't have type 1 and this big description of that. That is not helpful. Okay. Now, there's certain subtle. Are you trying to convey information, or are you just trying to convey emotion? If you're trying to convey emotion, you have very, very little writing, right? Like what's up, right? Like what's up, bullet points, they're huge, they come in, they come out, and you're just trying to get people to kind of work with you. If you're trying to convey information, then you have more text, not that much, but more text, right? But the text that you're showing is usually the topics and the terms that you need to define, and then you define the terms. Do you get what I'm saying there? Okay. Any questions about giving PowerPoint presentations in general? Okay, when you come up, you'll have your whole group. So one person in your group can be tapping so that your slides move ahead. There is no limit on the number of slides that you can have, but each group has 5 minutes. So you have 5 minutes. And at the end, I'm going to have all of the people are going to be taking notes on all the presentations. And then the reason you're going to take notes is so that you can vote. And you're going to vote on which group had the best presentation, and then that group is going to win the contract and get extra credit. Questions? Okay, we are going to kind of move ahead, and I'm going to talk about some other stuff today about how to do some forced problems. Did we do problems already? Forced problems?
A little bit.
I think we did a little, and I have to talk about torque Did I talk about torque and about torque and?
We had a
Torque problem.
quiz
Oh, okay, we already did, oh, that's right, we had the torque quiz, okay. Then, what we're gonna be doing is talking about energy, so, yeah, we'll get ready for that. So, let's see, okay, I can turn this off.